Dramatic testimony that the president knew his plan to overturn the election was illegal. And so did the Trump lawyer leading the campaign to keep Trump in office. Joining me now is Ben Ginsberg, a longtime Republican election lawyer, a celebrated lawyer who testified to the January 6th committee and played a key role in the 2000 Florida recount. Ben Ginsberg, it's great to see you, and you're doing so much more now on election security, but let's talk about the January 6th hearings. To a non-lawyer, John Eastman acknowledging, according to the testimony, that he knew all along that this would have gone against the election count law of 1887, and that both paths, going to the states or stopping the count and putting their own electors up, would have been illegal. One, he said, less illegal than the other, more palatable politically, perhaps, to the vice president. Neither, of course, were. But what does that mean for him? And then there's evidence that he asked for a pardon. Yeah,
the way John Eastman played this out was obviously to appeal to his client. And many a lawyer has gotten caught in the trap of being so involved in trying to please a client that you lose sight of what really is important, that what you're supposed to do as a lawyer. And this feels like one of those instances.
Do you think that they are beginning to build a case that the Justice Department would pick up and actually try to build a case against the president, or would actually indicting a former president be so unprecedented and so politically volatile, especially one that's talking about running for office again, that that's just something that no attorney general would want to do?
I'm doubtful that there will be a prosecution. First of all, it would take a tremendous amount of time, and most importantly, would further divide an already really polarized country. So what the January 6th committee is doing, and what presumably the Justice Department is doing, is laying out the complete historical record to show how unprecedented what the Trump forces were doing is, and by exposing that, making sure it never happens again. And perhaps there'll be some legislation to be sure that never happens again.
Well, to that point, according to a Washington Post analysis, more than 100 of the officials nominated in primaries so far, Republican primaries so far, are election deniers. And these include secretaries of state, now 17 of these nominees in 23 different states, I believe. Or maybe it's 23 candidates in 17 states. You would know better than I. But there are so many states now that are vulnerable to deniers who would change the election count, create false allegations of fraud, try to change the outcome.
Well, there are many candidates who are doing it, which means that the warning bells are flashing as they've never done it in either of our long careers. And that means we have to be ever vigilant about it. It is also true that those deniers still have to face the voters before they get into office. And so, you know, voters get a choice in the democracy. I continue to think that even if an election denier is elected to office, there are still going to be some guardrails. It'll be much more tumultuous for the country, much more difficult. But when you're in the position of power, overturning the vote of the people is something that is wrong on principle and perilous politically for anyone who does it.
You and Bob Bauer, former general counsel in the Obama White House and White House counsel, so obviously a Democrat, you were teaming up to try to help protect poll workers who in Georgia and elsewhere have been threatened and even, you know, charged with crimes.
Yes, all election officials. Bob and I co-chaired Presidential Commission back in 2013, 2014. We got to know a large number of election officials around the country and developed a real respect and admiration for the job they do. You know, they never get praised if elections go right, and the wrath comes down on them if they do them wrong. And so when we saw elections officials being prosecuted for just doing their jobs, Bob and I formed this, and we do provide pro bono legal services to any election officials who need it.
You know, when you listen to the Nixon tapes, even now, the language that is used in the Oval Office, that's all shocking. But how shocked are you about the threats and the pressure on Mike Pence from the president?
Totally unprecedented. even more so than what we saw in Watergate. I mean, what is true about Mike Pence and the position that they put one individual in is really unprecedented, that there is sort of a one person guarding against a real deterioration of the democracy. And so while the plan didn't work, it emphasizes how perilously close we came. And that's why what the committee is doing in laying out the record of what happened is important for guarding against that happening again.
And as Judge Ludig said, he would lay down his body to stop anyone from overturning an election. Ben Ginsberg, it's great to see you.
Great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thanks for being here.